What's up, folks? Welcome back to a Christmas edition Tackle Tuesday here on Joe Ball's Bass. Thank you all for tuning in, and Merry Christmas. It is December 24th, Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas. Whatever holidays you're celebrating, enjoy them. Today, guys, we're not doing anything super special just because it's Christmas. I said Christmas special. It's not. Next week, though, is, I believe, the 31st? 30th or 31st. So I'm going to do essentially a year-end episode where I talk about my favorite lures that I was able to fish or use fishing at least in 2024 here, and a couple lures that I'm super excited to try or just get better at fishing and fish a lot more going into next season. As you know, here in Minnesota, we got ice. We got a lot of ice on all the lakes at this point. So open water fishing is done for the most part. Hopefully, in the next week or so, maybe get out to the river. But other than that, just doing some ice fishing. So anyways, today, guys, I wanted to talk about my favorite little Squarebill crankbait, and you've probably seen it before. If you haven't heard of it, it is the KVD from StrikeKing 1.5, okay, Squarebill. Small little bait, right? 1.5, that's not like the inches or anything. That's just what they're calling it for the size. Now, it's not the depth that it goes down either, because it'll actually go down to like 5 or 6 feet. Typically, if you're cranking it real hard, it'll get down 5 or 6 feet, especially depending on what kind of line you're using, right? If you're using a lighter line, you're going to get that thing a little bit deeper. You might be able to get it now like 8 or 10 feet if you're really cranking it and you're using really light line. Typically, like me, if I'm throwing cranks, it's not all the time, so I'm throwing it on a rod that I'm probably using for spinner baits or chatter baits or something like that. So typically, I'm probably going to have at least 12 to 15 pound line on that reel, okay? But here's a little look, guys. This is a resin crankbait. And again, if you've seen these, whatever, click away, go watch a last week's video or something. They're like $4, almost always on sale somewhere, whether it's online right now on Van Dam Experience or whatever his website name is. They're on sale for $3.99. Tackle Warehouse, Walmart, I mean, everywhere you go is going to have these, and I'll tell you why. It's because it catches fish, guys. It is a cheap, easy, normal Rapala style, crankbait style lure. And this color right here, I'm not even sure the name, but it is just this black back and chartreuse body, little hints of red there on the gill plate you see, and then underneath the chin, black little shad dot on there, and that's it, guys. There's no rattle. Let's see if I can do this. There's no rattle. That's just the weights in there, okay? So when you're going, it's not getting an exaggerated vibration or rattle like a lot of crankbaits will have that additional rattle in there. This one does not. Those are just those weights, and those weights are, according to Van Dam himself, perfectly, designed and whatnot to give this thing not just your typical straight line retrieve, but instead it's going to give it a pretty erratic action. So even just retrieving it, this thing is not just going to be at you, okay? And I'm telling you this from experience. You can straight retrieve that thing and it'll boom, 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 boom. It's weird, guys. I have not used crankbaits a ton. Every time I've thrown this thing on there, though, I've caught fish, and it is a much different action. Now, if you go a step further even, and you're going to like a slow straight retrieve, then you give it a boom, boom, right? Or even just a little rod twitch, that thing is just going to be spitting all over the place, okay? So this black, one more time, black chartreuse, a little bit of red on there. This thing is the absolute hammer. Van Dam also talks about how when the bite is finicky and it's finessey, he'll use one of those a lot of times. And I do the same thing, because when you're throwing, my moving bait go-to is a chatterbait. If you've seen any Tackle Tuesday so far, you probably know that. But if they're not biting a chatterbait, they're not biting a spinnerbait, they're definitely not biting a swim bait, I'll throw to this, right? Especially if I've already finesse fished. If I'm throwing drop shots or little worms or getting real small Ned rigs and super finessey and they're not biting that, chances are they're going to want something that's moving, but nice, small, and stealthy, right? So that's where these come in. This is my other favorite color. This is just your bluegill. I think this is No, maybe that's not pumpkin seed. I'm not sure. Maybe a long ear sunfish is what they call it. Red eyes on there. Super realistic kind of, I don't think it's like hand painted, but probably 3D printed on there. And then that kind of sparkly galaxy, cosmic looking back, okay? When the water's really, really clear, I like this one, especially like the middle of the day, right? Water's clear. Maybe it's a little windy. I like this one. If you've got any kind of mud or stain, I go darker, right? The chartreuse is still good in those muddy or stained waters, but I really like just a bright red, just a craw presentation when that water gets real stained, okay? So just real last thing here. Again, it is Christmas Eve. If you're watching this on Christmas Eve, that's awesome. Blessings to you and yours. But anyways, two different baits here. This is the KVD. This is the 6th Sense. You can see, these things are almost identical. And there's hundreds of different shallow squarebill crankbaits on the market, right? But these are like almost the exact same, guys. Other than this is a textured body. It's got 3D kind of gill plates on there, okay? And the lip itself is a little bit more rounded. I don't know how well I'm showing this. Rounded on the corners here, just a little bit more than that KVD. That KVD is almost a little more arched here at the top, but not as rounded on the corners. This is a little more flat here, but more gradually rounded quarters, okay? And just comparing the two, let's just say this. I've caught maybe a couple fish on this 6th Sense one, which is a similar paint job. They're going for the same thing, chartreuse belly, black back, but they do this gradient thing and all this, so it's not quite the same. But, chartreuse and black for the most part. And I will throw this one, and it's catching fish left and right, okay? So there's something special about the KVD ones, and they're going to be cheaper. Unless you find those 6th Sense ones on clearance because nobody buys them anyways, these are going to be cheaper, just hands down, all right? So check them out, guys. Again, I'm no, sponsored guy. I'm no super Kevin Van Dam fan. I think he's cool. I've watched a couple of his videos here and there. He seems like a nice guy. But I really like these baits, guys. So try them out, especially if you're loving throwing crankbaits or come springtime. Throwing those shallow water cranks can definitely be huge at the beginning of the season, so check them out. And again, not going to break your bank at all. I've got a handful of these, and this is really my go-to color, almost in most situations. So check it out, guys. The KVD 1.5 Squarebill Shallow Crank Bait. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next week for the year-end and outlook into 2025. End of your wrap-up extravaganza thing. Go catch fish.